Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Odin's movie vlog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well, and today we finally got some box office numbers. Woo! Really not all that many, but still cool to see box office numbers once again being talked about in the media. And as you can tell from this headline from Deadline, international box office, a look at weekend numbers as some markets hesitantly go back to the movies. What a difference a year and a pandemic makes. At this time in 2019, Pokemon Detective Pikachu was the number one movie in 72 markets with a $54 million frame at the international box office, while John Wick Chapter 3 took out a $35 million hit in 66. Avengers Endgame still had plenty of stones left in it. And where are we right now? Well, not anywhere near those numbers, but still, the fact that we are opening up in a wide variety of different countries at this point in time is still pretty nice. As you say right here, the biggest new market to the fray this session is Germany, which brought in a whopping $1.2 million across 24 titles, which included a local movie, Perfect Strangers, and we see a couple of recognizable features here, Warner Brothers' Joker, also Lionsgate's Knives Out, and the German pick, The Kangaroo Chronicles, and Sony's Bad Boy for Life. So really cool to see Joker still making some money being re-released there in Germany, and I'm sure that we're going to see that as different companies and different countries start to reopen over the next coming weeks and months, that you'll probably have some of these bigger films that were making some decent money come right back. And despite my thoughts about Rian Johnson, Knives Out was a gigantic financial success, and so it would make sense that they would re-release that film. Also, of course, Warner Brothers' Joker made over $1 billion being a rated R film, not getting a China release. So to me, that is a film that is going to be probably number one on a lot of different countries' lists and a lot of the studios' lists, or rather, specifically Warner Brothers' list, to try and put that movie back in theaters because it is pretty much a guarantee to make some money. I know that I personally would kind of be drawn to go watch Joker again in theaters, even though I currently own the film on 4K. It's still one of those experiences where the theater just makes it a little bit better in that way. Korea, which began opening in late April, grossed $1.12 million. Let's see, some of the movies here were Escape from Pretoria with Daniel Radcliffe, which had 261,000 on 529 screens. Again, the fact that we're talking about the screens in the hundreds here is kind of exciting. So once again, very, very happy to see this actually start to happen. Also notable, DreamWorks Animation's Trolls World Tour, which went out theatrically and on VOD 3 weeks ago in the market, is still playing at 126 screens. And so not only did that movie do very well on video on demand services, but now it is also making some money even in theaters themselves. Obviously, we know that places like AMC and Regal have stated that they will boycott a lot of the future Universal films because Universal has made it kind of clear, saying, you know what, we kind of want to start re-releasing new movies on VOD on the same day as it gets a theatrical release, while theaters, of course, I think rightfully said, yeah, but if you do that, it's really going to hurt our business and really hurt our industry, which is already going to be hurting after all of this stuff finally dies down. Australia brought in some movies, the top five being Jumanji: The Next Level, Sonic the Hedgehog, The Invisible Man, Bloodshot, and Frozen 2. No real surprise there. You see some very big box office juggernauts there, and also a couple films that were just getting a release right when the pandemic had originally started. In Japan, this is interesting that Warner Brothers re-released Birds of Prey, Mask Ward, Mad Max Fury Road, Just Mercy, Blade Runner, and Richard Jewell. It's a very odd combination of things. I'm assuming it means the original Blade Runner, which is kind of really cool. And this, I think, is kind of bringing up the point of why I'm excited about all of these things happening, even though obviously I think the pandemic is going to have a very negative effect on movie theaters, and I think that a lot of theaters and theater chains are going to have to shut down, refinance, obviously, but also probably in a lot of different ways, just shut down completely several theaters across the country and across the world. It is kind of interesting because they might actually, the studios and the theaters are going to have to work together to try and bring movies into the theaters that people are going to actually want to see. And even though the rule of thumb might be, well, new releases will do that automatically, it might actually be more of a benefit to the studios and to the theaters to try and put out some older films that they can charge much less for, but still make a decent amount of money, especially the theaters when you talk about all the money that they tend to get from popcorn and soft drinks, which is why this bit of news coming out of Hong Kong and Taiwan is very, very exciting. And that is that Warner Brothers has apparently set for Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy to get a re-release. I know that if tomorrow the theaters around me said we are going to re-show Batman Begins and The Dark Knight in theaters again, I know that I would go to see it because Lord knows the price would probably be pretty reasonable. I'd say they probably would charge around $5 or so for actually to see each one of those films. I always think $5 to see Batman Begins on the big screen or Dark Knight again on the big screen. That would be well worth it in my book. If you could actually find a way to get this released onto something like an IMAX screen or in a Dolby Vision, that would be even better. But obviously, that's going to raise the cost just a little bit. Still very exciting to see that Hong Kong and Taiwan are working with Warner Brothers to get these re-releases. And I cannot wait for movie theaters to finally start to reopen in the United States. Obviously, certain states are going to have local theaters that either are already allowed to reopen or in the process of reopening, while the major chains like Cinemark, Regal, and AMC are set to more likely release sometime in June, with the earliest possible real mainstream showings with not as many limitations coming in July. And all to make way, obviously, with the Dark Knight Trilogy. The mindset for Warner Brothers is because Tenet is still, at this point in time, has not been changed yet to come out July 17th, because Christopher Nolan does not want to move that day. And God bless you, good sir, because, dear Lord, I think you're the only person right now fighting for movies in movie theaters. When you think about all of the different studios out there, all of the different theater chains too, it really seems to me that the only person that really gives a damn about having movies being shown once again is actually Christopher Nolan himself, because he's the only one that has been very outspoken about not moving, not compromising, and doing everything he can to make sure his vision gets out there. And so with the fact that we have now theaters across the world starting to reopen, some money actually starting to come in these various markets, and them revealing some of the movies that they are willing and what the studios are willing to put back out into theaters, it's interesting. Again, having films like Blade Runner, having films like Mad Max Fury Road, as I mentioned before, having the Dark Knight Trilogy being brought back out. That is pretty damn cool, too. Let me try and see if there's any other older films that are being mentioned here. Again, obviously, films that came out this year, like Sonic the Hedgehog, 1917, The Gentleman, Hobbs and Shaw. I wouldn't say Hobbs and Shaw is very good. Ford v. Ferrari. That was a fantastic film that I would definitely be game for seeing again on the big screen as well. And so it's just really interesting, because this is going to be, I think, kind of that precursor to, once the U.S. theaters start to reopen, what movies we could probably be looking forward to. And again, no surprise there, a lot of films are going to be coming out from this past year, but the fact that Warner Brothers is willing to put the Dark Knight Trilogy back onto the big screen is pretty damn awesome. The fact that they're willing to put out a classic like Blade Runner back on the big screen is pretty damn awesome. And the fact that they're talking about some of these other films from the last year or two and even further back is also pretty damn awesome. What are your thoughts about this? Do you think that we're going to see some of these movies that are getting released in other countries here in the United States when the theaters are finally allowed to reopen? And also, what do you think that reopening is going to look like? Do you think it's going to be mostly old releases? Do you think it's going to be mostly new releases? Do you think it's going to be just kind of a hodgepodge of random things being put together? That's what I'm kind of leaning towards, is that it's just going to be a cobbling together of different movies from different times and eras to try and bring as many people back as they possibly can, so that once July hits, especially July 17th, they're able to actually get people back into the screen with brand new releases. Let me know your thoughts about this and everything I talked about in the comment section below. If you like this video, smash that like button, hit that subscribe. It helps out a lot. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless. And now a huge shout out to my May Patreon and Subscribe Star members: Albertus Magnus, Animation Commentator Brian P, Dion, Divex, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Frank the Tank and the Shawhan Weeder Dog Clan, Harold Francis, the Hunker Chunker Funker Monkey, Inflame Wood, It's a Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jeffrey Toon, Kenneth Camiel, Lady T, Laura Story, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mike Jackson, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, Orange Hat Reviews, Outpost Dyer, Out of Step with Reality, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Steve Glasker, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bojan, The DJD Show, and Tina B. Thank you all for being my Patreon members, and a shout out to my Subscribe Star peeps: John B, Perpetual Punster, Robert Revo, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, G2 Cool 99, Darkstar 57, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., US 888209 Fast, Dean Heiss, Harold Francis, J. Rod the Beer Guru, Nebadon G. Adams, and ZK Man. And a special shout out to David Bobrizik and Edgardo Martinez. I'm going to leave that pause there just in case anyone decides to join for the month of May, because you can indeed join on Patreon or Subscribe Star at any time this month to be eligible for any of the perks. They include access to an exclusive podcast that I do with John, the Flick Pick of John Flickinger's fame, so make sure you go ahead and check that out at the $10 and up level. Also, if you Subscribe Star or Patreon at $5 or up, you have access to exclusive giveaways of 4K movies, digital films, and a bunch of other stuff in between as well. And if if anything, you could at least give just anything that you really want to help support the channel, and it would really help me out a lot. Keeps the lights on, makes me able to continue to do this kind of stuff. So anything you possibly give, check out some more information in the description of the Patreon subscribe star, and of course YouTube membership links as well. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.